She brought out another egg and smashed it in front of him. Immediately, 3 beautiful women came out from inside the tree and moved closer to Juma. Before we continue, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. The village of Kakadi was gradually returning to its once peaceful self, as it was already 6 months since Mbali left and the mourning period was over. Kato woke up from his nightmare, sweating profusely. As he opened his eyes, he saw a glowing figure standing in his room. "It is time," the figure said. "Your innocence and purity will defeat the evil." Meanwhile, Juma's journey led him away from the village. He got to Omala, the last village before the dark forest. Omala had an unexplainable quietness, but it wasn't a peaceful one. The villagers had seen strange figures moving around with heavy, deadly smells. And everywhere these images passed, all the crops and animals around died off. It was like a warning sign, and they knew that danger was looming. Juma stood at the foot of the forest. The aura coming from the forest was strong and powerful, and Juma knew that he couldn't confront it alone. "Iye, I must visit Iye, for I need her now." He dipped his hand into his pocket and brought out an egg, smashed it on the ground. As soon as the egg broke, a thick white smoke came out. Juma jumped into it and disappeared. He reappeared in Iye's hut. "Who there comes into my presence without invitation?" Iye said amidst her sleep. "It is I, Juma, your son." "I have been expecting you," Iye answered, getting up from the bed. "This journey will consume you if you make any mistake, but I will empower you. I will send one who is pure and innocent to help you. For the powers you seek to destroy, you have shared your body with, and now they also have deep access to your soul, just as you have access to theirs. And without help, this journey will surely destroy you." "But Iye, I only made love to Mbali, only to gain deep access into their soul, alongside the others." Iye responded. "The deep access which you have into their souls, they also have into your soul. Remember, it is mutually shared. Mbali can destroy you just as you can destroy her. You must never forget that you can only defeat evil with a pure and innocent heart. You must leave now, for Omala is at the verge of destruction." Iye gave him a small pouch. In it was an egg, a mirror, and a shell. "When the need arises, you will understand the use of them." She brought out another egg and smashed it in front of him. As Juma entered into the smoke from the egg, he found himself at the foot of the east side forest again. Kato followed the light that appeared in his room. It led him till he got to the west side of the forest. As soon as Kato stepped into the forest, the light entered into him, embraced him, and they became one. Juma walked into the forest with his heart pounding. The air was heavy with an unnatural stench of evil, and the sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy of the trees that formed about it. "It must be here. I can sense the presence of an ancient power. Why do I have a feeling that I have seen this before?" Juma kept on looking round. "I recognize this evil," Juma said. Before he finished the statement, a familiar voice came out from the large tree in front of him, and it sent cold shivers down his spine. "Juma," the voice whispered. we meet again. As he raised his head up, he saw Umbali. Umbali wandered into the forest after Juma disempowered her in Kakadi village. "Now you are in my terrain and I will destroy you," she said. She stepped out from inside of the tree with her eyes shining bright like the sun. Immediately, Juma looked into her eyes. The brightness distorted his vision and he couldn't see anything again. As she raised her hand and stirred the wind, making it hard for Juma to control his balance, the wind lifted him up high to the sky and threw him down to the ground violently. Juma felt paralyzed as he hit the ground. He laid down, unable to move. Umbali moved closer to him and began to caress his chest. "Juma, I cannot forget our sweet experience. I must have you one more time before I destroy you." As soon as she laid her hands on him, Juma quietly reached into his bag and brought out a mirror. Immediately she looked into it and saw her own image. The light from her eyes shined back into her face and she fell off from him. She became furious and she screamed, "Sisters, he is here!" Immediately, 3 other old and wrinkled creatures appeared from inside the other trees. "Where is he?" they said excitedly as they came closer and began to caress Juma. "So we finally meet you, the sweet Juma. We heard of your powerful charms and your sexual prowess. We must have a feel of it, for it has been over 100 years we felt a man's touch. Then we will make you pay for what you did to Umbali." They soon tied him to a tree and turned their backs, deliberating who would have him first. And one of them said, "I will go first, for I am the oldest." She began to drag him into her tree. Meanwhile, Kato, who had been wandering in the forest, guided by the light within him, finally got closer to the center. When he saw Juma being dragged, he immediately recognized him as the traveler in Kakadi. Quietly, Kato walked up to Juma without the 3 evil creatures noticing him. Immediately, they sensed a strange presence. They looked at Juma and they knew that something was going to interrupt them. They ran to the other woman and then they began to argue. "No, I will go first. No, I will go first." While they were still arguing who will go first, they dropped Juma and faced themselves and began to fight. Kato quietly walked up to Juma, and before he could set him free, the 3 women turned. They rushed to grab him. "Who are you? How dare you free him from us?" But as they got closer to him, they fell from the bright light that shone from him. Meanwhile, Umbali had regained her strength. She took a sword and pierced Juma from behind. Immediately the 3 witches saw Juma bleeding. They became furious. "You idiot! You killed him! You have ruined our chances of us feeling a man's touch after 100 years!" And they pounced on Umbali and began to scratch her angrily. When Juma saw that they were not paying attention to him, with pain he shouted, "Kato, quickly! Bring out the shell and raise it up!" Kato did exactly as he was told, and the entire forest was filled with white smoke. The 3 women, including Umbali, became weak from the effect of the smoke, and they fell to the ground. "Kato," Juma called faintly, almost passing out from losing too much blood. "Bring out the egg, Kato." Kato quickly reached into the pouch and gave Juma the egg. With his last strength, Juma smashed the egg on the ground, and him and Kato disappeared into the smoke. Juma and Kato appeared in Iye's hut. Iye got up quickly from the bed when she saw Juma appear lifeless. He had lost too much blood. She quickly accessed him and whispered to Kato, he is badly hurt, but he will survive. She turned to Kato and told him, you must go back, little one, and complete the task. How? Kato asked with his voice trembling from fear. How do I face those ancient powers? I am only empowered to assist, not to carry out the entire assignment. Iye looked at him as he talked. You are right. If I send you there alone, though they cannot harm you, but they can trap you there for ages, and they will do exactly that. As she was still thinking of what to do, Juma opened his eyes and whispered, Empower me, Iye. I will go back. No, you can't, Iye quickly interrupted. I told you that Umbali has as much access to your soul, just as you do, because you foolishly made love to her. I know, Iye. Let me go back. Even if I can't defeat her, I will face the other three. While you face Umbali, remember, you have an age-long score to settle with her. You have a revenge to take. Have you forgotten? Iye, let us do it now, once and for all. Kato will empower us both with the light of his purity. Iye saw reasons with him. You are right, Juma. I will empower you, and we will defeat this evil once and forever. But we must do it quickly, so you do not lose too much blood. She reached out to the animal skin under her bed and brought out 2 eggs. And another item which she didn't let the others see. She dropped the eggs in the bag. Then she placed her hand on Juma's head, and immediately Juma felt empowered. The bleeding stopped. He felt stronger, and he got up from the bed. She smashed one of the eggs on the ground inside her hut. Once again, a thick smoke appeared, and all 3 of them jumped into the smoke and appeared in the forest again. They met Umbali and her sisters lying on the ground, all 4 of them, weak and tired from the fight with themselves. As soon as Umbali sighted Iye, she immediately got up and screamed, I know you! No! How come? I killed you hundreds of years ago! No, it can't be! I saw the smoke leave your body! You died! You died! Umbali kept on screaming and shivering. He laughed. No, you didn't. That was Tala, my identical twin sister. You took her away from me. Iye reached into her bag and brought out a small bottle with the image of a man inside. She raised it up and shouted at Umbali, remember this? The fisherman you seduced and bottled his soul several years ago, even after he kept on telling you he needed to go back to his pregnant wife. You remember? He was my husband. You destroyed me, Umbali. You killed my twin sister and imprisoned the soul of my husband. Now it is time to pay, Iye screamed. Before Umbali could recover from the shock, Iye waved her hands up and stirred the earth from beneath Umbali. It lifted her high in the air and smashed her violently on the ground. Iye repeated it several times and kept on smashing Umbali to the ground until she became unconscious. He went for the other 3. He raised the shell and a white smoke came out and went straight into the nostrils of the 3 witches, leaving them gasping for breath and suffocating. Iye, still standing in front of Umbali, brought out a small bottle and opened it. This is the smoke from Tala. I captured it in the bottle. I have waited so long for this day to come. She opened the bottle and the smoke escaped and went straight for Umbali. As soon as it touched her, it overshadowed her and she began to scream and melt into liquid. Right behind them, Kato separated himself from the light that had entered him. He held it up and dropped it to the ground. As soon as the light touched the grasses, they caught fire. and began to burn very fast, consuming the trees. "Quickly, bring out the egg," Iye commanded him. He did so immediately and smashed it again. The thick smoke appeared. Iye, Juma, and Kato jumped into it and disappeared from the forest that had already started burning quickly. They appeared in Iye's hut. She quickly placed Juma on the bed and was tending to him. Then she raised her head and looked into the mirror in the wall. There, she saw as Umbali and her sister struggled to get out of the burning forest, but it was too late. The forest burned completely, consuming everything and everyone in it. Finally, they were free from Umbali. She lifted her hands and smiled. Finally, Umbali has been defeated. She turned round to look at Kato, only to find out that he was no longer inside with her. When she stepped outside to look for him, she saw him staring into a mirror with a pensive look. Kato, what do you see this time around?" Kato turned to her and smiled. "I see history